In this lesson, we're going to learn how to make an existing roof type from scratch, as well as how to modify existing roof types. To begin with, underneath the Architecture tab, we need to select on the Roof tool. From here, on the Type Selector list, we can pick there and see all the different kinds of roofs that are currently loaded into this project. What I'd like to do to begin with is take a look at the properties of one of these pre-existing roofs, in this case, the wood rafter roof. So select on Wood Rafter, and from here, select on the button Edit Type. Now this is going to take us into the type properties of this roof, which will show us each layer of material that makes up this roof type. From here, over on the left-hand side, you should see a preview of your roof. If for some reason you don't, you'll see something that looks like this. Pick on the preview box in the lower left-hand side of the screen, and then you'll get a preview of how your roof is constructed. Once this box is open, click the white area, and then spin the wheel on your mouse to zoom in to see each layer of material. To see the properties of each layer of material, next to the word structure, there's a big button called Edit, and oftentimes I'll just call it Edit Structure. So select on Edit, and from here we can see the function of each layer of material, such as the finished material, is it the structural part, is it substrate, as well as what is the material itself. Is it a shingle? Is it made out of plywood? Is it some sort of structural wood? If you want to change this material, you can. Move in here and pick on the material that you want to change. In this case, I'm going to pick on the shingle. And then there's a button that'll show up right there. If you click on the button, you'll then get a material list. And from here, you can pick any material that you want off of the list. And no matter what material it is that you pick, that's going to be the material that that layer of material is on your roof. In this instance, though, I do like to having that shingle material, so I'm just going to click on Cancel to get out of the dialog box. But if you feel like picking a different one off of the list, such as default roof or something else, feel free to do that. From here, I'm just going to click on Cancel. If you picked a different material, click on OK, and that will accept the material. Next, directly to the right of that, we have thickness. If you adjust the thickness, you'll see the thickness change of that material here in the preview, such as instead of 1/4 of an inch, maybe we want to make this be a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to change that 4 to be a 2. Then click somewhere down in one of these two boxes. In this case, I'm going to click right to the side of 7.5. You notice how this material is now a thicker material. We can change that back to a 1/4 of an inch as well by just moving up here and clicking on 1/4 of an inch and then clicking somewhere here in the box. See how it now gets moved back? In fact, when you're doing this, take a look here where it has the thermal mass and resistance as well as total thickness. Notice how this is 8 3/8. If I change this to be a 1/2 and then click somewhere else, you'll see that the resistance has changed, the mass has changed, and both of these are based off of the properties of this material here. And the total thickness has changed because of that thickness that we just changed here in the dialog box. And if we change this back to be 1/4 of an inch again, and then click inside of here, we'll then see the resistance and thermal mass went back to its previous numbers, and the thickness has also shrunk itself back down by a 1/4 of an inch. So this is a process that you can use in order to create your own roofs by modifying an existing roof. Now, if you want to create a new roof just totally from scratch, this is a process that you need to take. Right now, I'm going to click on Cancel, but if you made any changes that you wanted to have accepted, you could click on OK. I'm just going to click on Cancel because I don't want to save my changes. From here, in the Type Selector list, there's an option here that says Type. And by the way, this is also another kind of type selector list. This is a type selector list, but so is this. We're going to click right here where it has the rafter, and I'm going to change this to a different type. I'm going to change this to be a generic 12-inch roof. We can see the default thickness has changed. It's now 1 foot, which is 12 inches. From here, I'm going to click on Edit next to Structure. And here we can see that this is just one layer of material, 1 foot in thickness, and it's generic, so the material is just listed as being by category. What I'd like to do now is really create my own roof type. I'm going to step back one step, and then we're going to create our own roof type from the menu before this. So click on Cancel down here, and then select on the Duplicate button. And it's going to ask for a new name. We're going to name this roof that we're creating, and it's going to be a duplicate of this roof here, which is generic 12-inch. For the name, because this is just going to be an example of the command, I'm just going to call it Example. But obviously, you'd want to give it a name that anybody would recognize as being that kind of roof structure. From here, I'm going to click on OK, and then I'm going to select on the Edit button next to the word Structure. We can see that there's a structural material here. Material is currently by category. And once again, we could click inside of that box and choose any kind of material we wanted off of the list. We could give it a thickness, but also we have the ability to insert in a layer of material. And we can see it's now inserted in down here below a layer of material. We're not seeing it update here in the preview because we haven't given it a thickness yet. If this is just going to be a 1/2 inch thick, maybe gypsum wall board or something on the underneath side here, type in a 1/2 inch, click in here where it has thickness. Now you can see it has that extra 1/2 inch of material right here. If we did insert in again, we get another layer of material here. With it highlighted, you can click on either move up or move down to change the order of it on the list. So if you wanted it to be at the bottom, you could bring it down. If you want it to be at the very top, which is what I'm going to do in this case, you can move it all the way up to the very top. And then you can give it a thickness through right here. In this case, I'm just going to tell it 1 inch. Click inside of one of these other boxes, and now you'll see that extra layer of material has now been added. And we can see the total thickness has adjusted up here. You'll notice that the resistance and thermal mass, though, are currently both set at 0. The reason is that we've never specified the material through here. If we started picking different materials for the structure here, this structure or this structure, because of the properties associated with that material, it would then update the thermal mass and resistance here in the properties of the roof. One other thing that I'd like to do is change this function from being structure 1 here to being a finish layer of material. So make this be finish 1-4, and this one down here, finish 2, which is 5. Whenever you do that, you now have a finish layer of material up above, another layer of material down below, and then the structure right here in the middle of the roof. And if we click on OK to that and OK to that, we can now see that if we wanted to begin to draw in our own roof, we could do that, and it'd be called Basic Roof Example. So just remember that there's 2 different things that we can do if we want to create our own roofs. One is to select in the appropriate roof here underneath the type selector list, click on Edit Type, and then change the properties of that roof, or go to the Duplicate button, give it a new name, and then change the properties of that so that it's a totally new roof with a new name with its own set of structural properties.